Hello, this is JJ Humphrey, and I am with Bobby Cleveland, and we are on Elephant in the Room, where we love to discuss stuff that other people will not discuss. And today we're going to talk about our favorite subject because there's so much. I've been diving into the Department of Corrections. Bobby Cleveland's always with me, and we've been stirring up a lot of stuff. And Bob, we've made some people very, very unhappy over there. I guarantee you, I'm getting just a lot of stuff back on us, calling out all of these rapes. And Bob, the fact that we got the video the other day, we got a guy raped that was sent to the hospital, is my understanding. We got another lady coming forward, I believe, on rapes at Mabel Bassett. So, we had, I think the other day I come out about 4 deaths in a 10-day period. Bob, did you see the article that come out just recently talking about the number of deaths that we were the highest around in the number of deaths? And the number of deaths they quoted, I really feel like is probably low. Did you see that article, Bob?
I did not see that article.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It just come out like.
But it does not surprise me. They say they got violence under control, and about the time they say that, there's 2 more stabbings. I think they had 2 stabbings at Dick Connors on the inmates.
Well, Bob, I think this article, I had to read it again. I was trying to read it on my way to church this morning, and I think that it said we're the highest in the region, or I think it was region, but talking about that we were already pretty high, but the year 23, so 2023 apparently was pretty astronomical, and that put us the highest in the region.
Now that was in deaths.
What's that?
What that in deaths in the
Yeah.
prison? Yeah. Well, no, JJ. I think that's probably nationally, because we were.
Well, it was murder. It was murder cases, and again, they were investigating a whole bunch that they hadn't proved murder yet. So it's not just deaths; that's just murder cases.
Well, don't they have something like 80 cases of deaths that they haven't determined?
Bob, I'm trying to reach out to the medical examiner and find out just how many. Trying to get a real number from DOC. But Bob, any of these agencies, you try to get, as an elected official. And by the way, Bob, I didn't draw an opponent, so I was very happy.
I wanted to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
You got in there didn't get an opponent. I think that's a good thing, showing the job you're doing, what your district thinks about you. And I know just from being with you over there and driving around, the people over there really, really love you. Every time we stop anywhere, they gang around you and want to talk to you. And of course, you talk to them for 30 minutes. And
yeah, I've never been accused of not talking, Bob.
But JJ, with the Department of Corrections, they come right back. Here's interesting. You come out and said in a press release that they had violence out there. They come back immediately in a press release saying, "Oh, the violence down since October to date. It's down."
Right.
Now, how do they know when they don't even know how many people they got there? They can't even figure out. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of numbers from DOC of what their population is. But how could they come back within 5 minutes and say that you're lying, that violence is not down? Now, they could say, take into consideration what violence is, and if it's violence this way, they could take something off to do like they do on the drugs. If they're having one drug is a lot, K2 is a lot. That's where all the drugs are coming in, all the drug tests. So K2 was the main one. So what do? Let's stop testing for K2. Then we don't have any more of it.
Yeah, it's a shell game, Bob. I mean, here's the deal. It's they don't tell the truth, and so I got called today and was told that there's a report out that says that there's 18,000 inmates, and then another report that says 22, I think. Well, I know there's one. I got to go back and get the actual article that they used 17, and they got that from the department. So here's one.
Well, I heard that by their whatever we call her, that does the press releases, that there were 17,000.
I've got a news article on that. Now I've got this group saying they got 18,000 from DLC. Now, what I asked them to do, could you please verify how you got that information? I want it verified. But then I know they come out and said another article, or let's say that another friend of mine quoted an article at 21. So I asked him to get that. This group again said, well, they had an article out 22. And then I'm going to pull up my budget hearing because I'm pretty certain in the budget hearing they claim 24. So that's going to be a very interesting that if I can find, and again, before I go out too publicly, now we're talking on here what all the issues are, but before I go out really publicly and just state this is a fact, I will have the news article. Here's a news article. Here's this. Here's that. And be able to say, but Bob, just like what you say, when you come out and say violence is up, they turn around and say, hey, you're a crackhead, violence is down. Well, now here's an article saying, no, this is the highest rate and you're the highest in the region. And so again, why is all that important? Because when we're talking about a shortage of officers and they make a claim it's 14 to 1 or whatever, well, crud, is that 14 to 1 on on 17,000, or is that 14 to 1 on 24,000? You can see where that'd be a big difference. And is the number of officers you have that you're reporting about like the number of inmates you're reporting? Is, what can you believe? Anything they say, can you believe anything they say? And you can't get an answer. You can't get a straight answer from
Right.
anything. When you request it, Bob, as an elected official, when I request something from these agencies, I ought to be able to get it. And again, Director Harp, guess what? If he doesn't want to answer me, he doesn't answer me. There's quite often I'll ask a question and can't even get a response.
Yeah. Well, what's the deal on the salary? I know we've talked about that several times. So what's going on with that?
Well, Bob, here's the deal so that all of our listeners know that Director Hart came from the agency called OMES. And OMES is the one that basically handles all the contracts, handles all the things over all state government. I like to call them OMES. OMES, they are a mess. And so he was over that. They had a lot of problems, Bob. They had that Swadley's barbecue. He got him a big dose of that barbecue stain on him. Hard to wash that out. Had a lot of COVID money. I reported a bunch of that COVID money missing, millions of dollars missing. And so, that's another issue. I think there was some uh, ARPA money questionable. I don't know that for fact. But then you had them doing away with MERRICK. Then you had them doing away with bidding processes. So he kind of got snuck out of OMES, come through the back door, comes over to the Department of Corrections, zero training, zero experience, zero education, and he gets a $90,000 increase in pay. So we start asking, where did this $90,000 come from? Now he's on record, Bob, saying I brought my salary over from OMES. Well, I went and looked up the law, and I can't find anywhere in the law where it says, hey, I can just bring my old salary and I can transfer one salary to the other. Because, Bob, the OMES director is set, the DOC director is set. It has nothing to do with that individual who's in there. So, whatever that salary is, whoever is in there, that's what they're going to get. So, here's the deal, the salary was 185. Harp comes over from OMES and all of a sudden now is 271. And by the way, with benefits and all, 341, I think. So again, a 90,000 in cash increase. Who authorized that? So Bob, I went and looked up the law. There's three different groups that can authorize that. One is the board, one is the legislator, and one is the governor. I looked on the legislators. Guess what? Nothing indicates like the legislators gave any kind of approval. Now again, he said, well, I just transferred that from OMES to where I'm at. Well, guess what? You can't do that. So who authorized it? So now we can look at the board or the governor. So what I did, I requested from him on multiple occasions, who authorized you to have a $90,000 raise? Now, if he can't prove that somebody authorized that, and all he has, and we have his statement saying he transferred that over, can't do it that I can see. Now, if he can provide some law that I'm not aware of, okay. But Bob, I asked this at a hearing the other day. I said, if he can't justify how he got approval, authorization, and we can't find anything that would authorize him to do it himself and transfer it, then what is that? And my good friend sitting beside me that has over 35, 36 years of law enforcement experience quickly said it's embezzlement. And I agree with my good friend that it would be embezzlement if he can't. So Bob, here's what throw something at you, see what you think. And I hope you're listening, Director Harp, because I need that authorization. But if I don't get the authorization, I'm thinking about writing up a probable cause and trying to charge him with, send it to the AG and say he's embezzled right now more than 90,000 because we're back on it another year.
Who asked for a grand jury investigation for that? Is that done strictly by the DA?
That'd be the AG that you could, I could ask for it, and the AG had to be the one to do it. So, yeah, that is quite possible. Bob, I've already turned over everything. I've turned over gobs and gobs of stuff to the FBI, and I talked to the FBI last week.
Well, it's just so interesting how had all this trouble, all this corruption. I'm going to call it corruption at OMES, and here it's all when he was there, from best I can
Well,
tell.
Well, Bob, and what people need to know, and when we're saying corruption, I think, and again, more than this. I think you went and heard a lecture on this, but I think the state auditor is going to come out with a report on all of the stuff that we're talking about that happened at OMES.
Now she's
And
not.
Bob,
What I seen on it, Representative. What I seen on it, she didn't call out Hart by name, but he was the director when all the funny money was taking place. And what's interesting, if you take a look at OMES right now, all those people quit. There's been a certain group of people that have quit and moved on, left OMES. The only one
Bob,
that's
they
still there.
fired 10 or 20 the other day out of one department.
I'm sorry.
They fired 10 or 20 out of one department over there the other day. Yeah,
OMES did.
yes.
Okay.
Things are very interesting. And again, Bob, the period of time that we're talking about is when all that Swadley's barbecue thing went on. And here's what people need to understand about that is that they indicted the three guys from Swadley's.
Right. Nobody from the state.
And here's the deal: does anybody in their right mind believe that those guys had anything to do with writing I mean, the contracts are written on the state side. The POs come in on the state side, and what you're seeing is just a massive, the way we do business, the way that we've done state business has changed since Harp took over. And again, what you see is
Well, he did away with
Harp.
bidding. He did away with the bidding process all on his own. We don't have
Well,
a bidding process.
that's what I'm saying. Like the bidding process, uh, Bob. Right now, I'm doing an investigation, and I just asked OCI. I just asked the Department of Corrections for about 16 invoices. I wrote OMMA, which is the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, and I wrote them because the Marijuana Authority is purchasing furniture from the Department of Corrections, OCI. Now, Bob, in the past, you always did a PO, a
Right.
purchase order. Normal business of any state purchase order. All 16 of these, uh, invoices were done on a rectification, I think is what they call that.
Now you mean, wait a minute, you're saying on a record, what would you say it was?
Rectification.
That means, if I'm not mistaken, that means to go back and get a purchase order. You didn't write a purchase order, I guess, because did they have purchase orders for this?
What it means is you didn't do the proper procedure, and now you're having to go back and rectify that, and you have to go back and say, this is who bought this, this is who ordered it, this is how much, this is what it cost, and here's what was done, and here's what it was sent. Because right now you don't have anything. How much was it? How much furniture? That's the way things get. Hey, we order $500,000 worth of furniture and only 250 show up. Where'd the rest of it go? That's why you have purchase orders to say, this is who's ordering, this is what it is. We verify we got it. Boom.
So DOC didn't have a purchase order for those 16 invoices. Is that correct?
Right. Right. Bob,
So
I've talked to.
there's no way they can pay those 16 invoices unless they match up with their purchase order.
Well, Bob, they got them paid, and now we're having to go back. It looks to me we're having to go back and rectify, why did we pay you without a purchase order, and what the crud was all this. So on both sides, that looks a little hinky because
now this is through a not what is it? Somebody that went out on their own that did business for the state. Now you go to them.
No, on this one, that's another one, Bob. On this one, it's the state doing business with the state.
Okay.
So you have one state agency purchasing from another state agency, but each one of them should have the same requirement that we need a purchase order.
Right.
Now, you go back and you look at and you talk to people who've done business in the state. So what I do when I have something like this, I'll pick up the phone and call some of the people I know because I've worked for the state forever. And so I'll pick up the phone and talk to a business person in one of these state agencies that will have 25, 30 years experience. And I'll call and go, hey, what the crud is this? And then they'll come back and explain, because Bob, up till just a week or two, I'd never heard of rectification.
Well,
and so
I could see it. I could see it on one or two invoices.
Bob.
But for 16 of them, there's is there any other agencies also that has this same problem, same issue?
Well, Bob, here's what I was told by a couple, not one, but by a couple of the people that I talked to that have business experience with the state. Some of them up to, let's say, 25 years. Multiple ones I talked to will have 25 years.
Right.
And these people told me, and all the time that they did business, they had never seen a rectification.
Well, let's see here, JJ. Let's just think a minute. We got this problem OCI. Now, who is the director of OCI?
I don't know who the director is right now, but
it'll be Harp.
Well, the ultimate director, yes,
he's over it. Harp's over it. So there again, we got another kind of a stuff going on that just doesn't look right.
Well, Harp has set the stage to do away with the process, or it appears. Let's say this, Bob. I always like to say it appears, but he's bragged about being the one who took out merit protection. And let's make it clear, he took out merit protection so he could fire whoever he wants. He's been systematically firing and then putting in whoever he wants. And he brings people without a zero experience and puts them in and pays them all his good buddies. He puts them in there and pays them astronomically amount of money. And that's what we've seen him systematically do. And so again, you want to talk about a corrupt process to, what we used to, I've joked on here before the practices that Stephen Hart put in place would make Gene Stipe blush. Stephen Hart's practices would make Gene Stipe blush, and that's the honest truth. And so, again, whether he done away with merit, firing everybody, nepotism, favoritism, cronyism, and all of these things that we tried to weed out in government. He
We
brought
have
them
no
back.
grievance. We have no grievance procedures now. He's taken that
Bob,
away.
nothing. You don't have any kind of grievance
You have no rights. You know,
and
I've heard about a girl officer, female officer that was terminated because they said this inmate brought back from somewhere he was at a piece of pizza, and he gave it to her, and she ate that pizza, one piece of pizza. Now she said she brought pizza from home
right.
that day. She had nothing to do with whatever that was. So how are they going to now? But they didn't. They don't care. They fired her.
Well, Bob, and then they show up at these hearings and just say, "Because we say so." So they're taking inmates' word and say, "We say so." And then if you actually win at their own made-up court, which thank goodness the judges, that's what they weren't planning on, decent judges. And so they're losing, but guess what? They turn around and appeal so that you are without money for quite some time. They try to break you. They try to break OCP by having you spend lawyers' fees because it doesn't cost them a dime, and they think it's quite funny to sit over there and make everybody pay for
Well,
everything.
it cost them time for that employee. They have that attorney where he could be doing other things, or she. So it's got them more time on that when you keep appealing and appealing. But they lose 90, probably 99% of the cases that come before there are people who are terminated.
Bob, they lost. I got a report from inmates, and I got a report from others that they're at Dick Connors that they had lost 6 employees, 6 correctional officers. They were down 9 correctional.
Well, Eddie Warrior just lost a bunch too.
Who did?
Eddie Warrior.
Hey, I heard they lost 8.
Yep.
Did you hear that, Bob?
Uh,
What?
6 or 8. I think they lost 6 and they fired one.
So 7.
That was kind of
Bob, hey,
fishy as well.
when you're talking about a facility that size, hey, you're almost talking about an entire shift.
But they hire a new person in administration that's going to subsidize, going to make things faster for everything. That has nothing to do with having officers. They do everything and make up these stories where they hire these people, give them a job that they never there, make a job for them. And just so happens this person was a former OMES person.
Well,
And
that's what
she gets the job and at a good salary, might be, and also they just make stuff up and they just
Well, Bob,
keep getting away with it. I don't know
Bob,
what's
and I
happened with our governor if he's just sitting on his hands and knees, didn't think anything about it. But even the secretary of public safety should be looking at these issues.
well, but here's the deal, Bob. I want to make sure everybody caught what you just said. Was this person had been at OMES, went to education. He went and stole them from education. It's got them over there. And so, if you want to go through a list of fire the doctor, bring somebody over who's not qualified,
From
give them
OMES.
a job, you turn around and fire the,
PR.
Who's that?
The PR guy.
Yeah, the PR guy, and then you bring somebody from OMES over there. Here's another one comes over from OMES, and Bob, there's a whole slew that he brings over from OMES, and again, that cronyism that we talked about is evident. I mean, you see it, and just firing people for no cause that doesn't appear like they had one reason. And again, Bob, I was studying, so I'm studying several of these agencies. And the other night, I'm studying an agency, and I'm talking to some people, and it comes out, well, one of the biggest problems is this agency it gets rid of anybody with any kind of state experience that knows the policies and know about all of this purchasing stuff. So they fire those people the minute they come in and say, hold it, you can't do this, you're fired. And then they bring in somebody.
Are you talking about DOC or another agency?
No, this is another agency.
Oh,
but
okay.
here's what shocked me, Bob. if you're listening to them, guess what it sounds like?
DOC.
Sounds just like deal. I'm like, we may be on to something right here, that this is not just DOC. I believe statewide that this is an effort, that the way that they did, the way what they did away with merit protection, I think was a concerted effort. I think they intentionally.
Well, they're trying to get rid of OCP. They're trying to get rid of me, trying to get rid of OCP. They don't want anybody at all questioning or asking any questions or looking at what they're doing.
Well, Bob, I think that's pretty much agency. Every agency is getting rid of these people who have experience and who can say, no, that's not right. So anybody that has the ability to question their authority or question their conduct, you're out. And so we see it with DOC firing these experienced hands, getting rid of them for practically what you said a while ago, over pizza. You're going to fire somebody over pizza. Really? You're not going to say, hey, we got to report that you ate pizza off this inmate.
Well, they fired a 33-year employee that had a good record, no discipline in there as far as days off. They fired him because he was doing his job.
Well, and Bob, again, you had what I was told the other day, on one of the cases where they had an inmate die, but the warden stepped in and took over that scene and was like, nope, y'all got to go get this before you can go in that cell. Nope, you got to have this. So then they fire one employee and demote the other employee because they didn't react quick enough. Well, guess who's on the authority on scene is the warden. And the warden told them to Hope do this, Hope do that. Now, that's my understanding. That's what I understand. And again, seems pretty interesting. Seems very interesting.
Well, when we talk about corruption, when we talk about the corruption going on at the Capitol, there seems to be no end to it. First, it looked like there was just a couple of, incidents that's not corruption, but now it looks like there is legitimately corruption going on at the Capitol.
Well, Bob, when we got all of this, and you can't, we come out with a report this thick on rapes. Can't get it investigated. We have a whistleblower, a doctor who filed a proper whistleblower, didn't get investigated. I filed a report. They come back and said, so they don't investigate none of this. We have a 6-hour hearing, 6 hours. We asked the AG representative, did you talk to the whistleblower? No. Well, how are you going to investigate a whistleblower report, accusation, and never talk to the whistleblower? Well, her testimony wasn't important. Well, how do you see that a whistleblower investigation and the whistleblowers is not pertinent? You know what I'm saying? Well, it's not pertinent because it was about rapes, and she didn't have any direct testimony to rapes. Well, that's a lie. That's a flat ass lie, because I put a whole book on where all these emails, she's the doctor they have to report to. I not only got her testimony, but I got email after email after email showing her testimony is true. And you're going to say that her testimony's not pertinent to these rapes? By damn, how incredibly stupid does that sound? But that's what they said.
But DOC didn't even bring the person over there you asked him to bring, who made a statement that was wasn't rape, consensual sex.
Bob, the AG come and said, we went over and we talked to James Hunt, the investigator who investigated this. Now, what our listeners need to know, we're sitting on not one, not two, but multiple reports that say James Hunt told me that if I testified truthfully, I would be fired. I would be terminated. And
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, they signed that. We had another confidential one said, now they didn't say James Hunt on this one. They said that the authorities come in and change people's testimony even when they had it on video. Here's another one. We had another person that wrote, and these were at separate times. They did not have any cooperation. And so here's the deal. We have the whistleblower saying this. We got another report anonymously saying almost the identical things, little bit different, but they're dang near identical. And the AG goes over and talks to this investigator and comes back and says, well, the investigator said he investigated this. Oh, well, let me see. The one we're accusing of doing all this says he did it. So investigation done. And that's what they said. We brought it over 6 hours. They refused to bring that investigator. Now, the reason they refused, Bob, because they knew if he come in, that he would probably have to lie big time, or that's why I assume. I can't say what they were thinking. I can't read their mind, but I assume the reason they would not bring him when we requested that investigator is because they knew they had problems. And then they brought the other witness, which is again their general counsel, who refused to answer one question and was extremely rude, by the way. But here's the deal. They leave that meeting saying, we proved the case. JJ has no evidence. We put on 6 hours of evidence, witness after witness saying, yes, this stuff happened. Yes, this happened. We had a witness saying, I sat right there and heard this girl brag about getting tobacco for giving this guy oral sex. We had multiple witnesses on that. Guess
Hey, by
what?
the way, JJ, now that all this is rape deals coming out, we're finding out there's more rapes at Mabel Bassett than we was aware of.
Bob, we kind of suspected that. You know, another thing, Bob, you know, they walked that warden out, and the report was that the scuttlebutt, and again, you can't go by scuttlebutt, but scuttlebutt I got was that warden was having sex with multiple people and that they walked him out over that. Now, whether it's true or whether it's not, but wouldn't you like to know? I mean, they just walk a guy out, don't tell nobody no reason whatsoever. And again, that's what we're talking about. They're walking employee out, and we're
Hard
hearing
to
all
believe
these
that he
things.
would sue, knowing that happened.
Well, Bob, and again, one of the things that I get from a multitude of people, JJ, now why would they want to cover up rape? JJ, why would they do that? Well, let me tell you why. Because they claim to have the best numbers in the United States on no sexual problems, on no rapes occurring at their prison. So how do you get those numbers? You lie. You cover up. You when you get a report of rape, you go in and tell that employee you can resign or we're going to investigate you for rape. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to resign, and therefore it never happened. And so we wash it away, we wipe it under the carpet, and again, what happens? It keeps happening, it keeps happening, it keeps happening because why? Nobody's scared of it. Nobody really believes you'll do that, so they take the risk. Now, if you'd prosecute a couple of people, guess what? You watch it, it would cut down on it. But the way that we're doing it, wipe everything off, claim everything's great, claim everything's good. That's the way they're doing.
Well,
All right.
we got the video of the guy at Mabel Bassett that was the officer that was having sex with the inmate, and I heard, I don't know whether this is 100% true or not, that he was bringing in drugs for her for sex.
Right.
Then something happened there at the last. He wasn't bringing in drugs, so they filmed that, and it was very visible. That was 5 feet, looked like to me, from where they was doing this at, and had it on. We had it on tape, and then they said, well, they're got to investigate it.
Well, Bob, when I watched the video, I got the video pretty early, and I watched the video. I said from Jump Street that it was a setup deal. There's no question they set the officer up to get him on film. But here's the deal: the officer set himself up because the rules clearly say if you have sex with an inmate, it is rape. Don't matter how. Don't matter if they set you up. Doesn't matter if they consent. They cannot consent. It is rape. Plain and simple, that's what the law states. We got it on video. Now, my word off, kind of, well, we look into that. And then it was kind of like, Well, what if we got a video?
Boy, you're cutting out real bad.
Oh yeah. Well, Bob, I got bad service down here. But Bob, here's the deal. Would they have investigated that if it wasn't been for the video? And I can tell you, I don't believe they would have. I believe it'd been standard practice. But it's quite interesting that we had another person come forward out of that same prison. And now, we've got this person from Lexington, female, having sex with an inmate. So again, it's not, I think us shining light on it is what's bringing all this out.
Well, it's the thing. The sad thing is we don't put guys in prison, in females in prison to learn how to be hookers. We don't put people in prison to get hooked on fentanyl. They didn't have fentanyl before they got in there. They get in there, they get hooked on fentanyl. They're having sex in prison. Something's wrong here. There's somewhere along the line here we're not getting it done right the right way in our facility, and it seems as though, my opinion, nobody cares. The upper level, they don't care because nothing's happening any different. It continues to get worse.
Well, Bob, I just wish people could see all the emails. I know you get them, I get them, man, report after report after report on not just the sex, but on assaults, on extortion. Again,
JJ, I got a call when this first thing came out about the showers. And I got a call, and I could tell he had been put up to say stuff to him because I could hear the person in the background. And he's telling me this is not going on, Bob. You got it all wrong. It's not going on. Well, I thought, well, maybe we made a mistake. We'll take a look at it. But we didn't make a mistake. This officer was obviously put up to call by his superiors to try to get us off the track.
Bob, I got an email, I think yesterday maybe, from a guy named Henry Ford. Now I gotta laugh. It's possible that there's a Henry Ford out there, but
There's not. There's no Henry Ford.
yeah, yeah. I kind of laugh, and they talk about how stupid I am on believing all these inmates, and how everything is great, and how all the officers are happy, and that we're just lying about all of this, and just go on how we don't know what's going on, and we need to shut our mouth. Uh, Now here's what's funny: we're getting emails, we're getting calls from the officers out there. Bob, I think you got a call the other day from an officer saying this place has got to shut down. Drugs wide open. You can't do anything. The inmates are in control. You've got to get this place shut down. It's out of control. And now that's
Well, they
from
tell
one
me
of
it's the drugs. I guess the K2, and I don't know anything about K2. I think I heard you smoke it, but it's getting into the ventilation system.
you heard I
And it,
smoke it, Bob. No, I don't smoke K2.
no, I didn't ask if you smoke K2. I said I don't know anything about it, but I heard that you smoke it, and I heard that it doesn't last very long. But when during that period you're there, you could have seizures. You could have other things that goes
Oh, yeah,
wrong. Take,
hallucinations. It's a bad drug. It's a bad drug.
but that is rapid in our prison system.
Well, and again, for this Henry, oh Henry, if you're listening, I hope we're not bashing you. If your real name is Henry Ford, cool, nothing wrong with that name. Just seems a little fictitious. Uh, but but your statements seem even more fictitious than your name. It doesn't appear to be true. And again, I'm getting a lot of you know uh, emails sent to me that are in a more kind of threatening nature from some false names and things like that, Bob. So I don't think that it's any coincidence that I'm getting those at the same time this comes up. Seems like they're connected. Seems like the same kind of stuff that we got a little while back when we were getting a false name put up on OCP and making a bunch of false claims about you and me. These people don't have the guts to come out and face you, out in the open. hey, we will welcome anybody on this program. And if you want to say we're a bunch of liars, hey, we'll let you come on the program. You can call us liars, and we will show you where we've got, what information we got, what we've had verified, and we'll show you why we call the Department of Corrections liars.
Representative, how long did the shower incident to go on before they stopped it after you advised them of it?
Bob, I got contacted. I wrote them the following day after I got the information. They came back about a day later and said it was totally untrue, that they couldn't substantiate that. They didn't say untrue. What they said, they couldn't substantiate it. Now, here's what's funny. I know for fact that they had the reports, the same reports that I had, and I know for fact they had that,
Now,
which
wait a minute. The report that you got, you didn't get it from DOC.
I did not get it from
They
DOC.
said you did.
They're liars. I didn't get that report. And what they're saying, that's one of the reasons why they say they won't give me information right now, is because I leaked out those reports. But Bob, I got the reports. I contacted them. I didn't contact anybody else. I contacted them in writing. They contacted me back in writing and said they couldn't substantiate it, which seems really, really ridiculous. Then they turn around, do nothing for about 3 weeks. I did contact the reporter, gave him that information. The reporter comes out, starts asking questions. 3 weeks later, then they contact me and say, "Oh, we're going to do an investigation." Well, yeah, you're going to do an investigation after I turned it out. You wasn't going to do one before, and I've got the written documentation to prove that. Then, Bob, they end up having 100 and something page investigation, which is quite the investigation. And guess what conclusion? Yeah, they did get locked in there, but it was only moving from one cell to the other. Now, how big is this prison that you need to keep people in a cell for 3 days? Yet they have incident reports, not only saying that they stayed there longer than 3 days, but Bob, it said they were put in there due to punishment. And they talk about how they were told that. They said that they were in there without food, water being withheld from them, no bathrooms. And again, the investigative reporter found more people than I did. The investigative reporter, I had up to 5 days. He says up to 9 days. I said 8 people. He said 17 people. But here's the funny part, Bob. Now the DOC is coming out and saying I leaked incident reports. One, I didn't leak them because they were already leaked. I got them from a different way. Now, the second thing is now they're acknowledging those incident reports. So, little question, DOC, Director Harp, how can you have incident reports that you acknowledge that clearly state from multiple officers this was done as punishment, this was done withholding food, it's human rights violations, they wouldn't take part in it, and yet you determine, no, no, we were just transferring. How do you do that? How do you ignore these reports and come to the conclusion, boy, you want to talk about some sketchy stuff? That's sketchy right there, Bob. Sketchy.
So you're saying that he had the reports all along, and then
Absolutely.
he said there wasn't nothing going on, what he told you, and then all of a sudden he knows all about it, and he's not going to let you see the reports because you think you got a report that you wasn't supposed to get.
Yeah,
That kind of like what it is.
yeah. Here's the deal, Bob. Up till now, I couldn't prove that they had the reports. I
What's
got the
what's the,
report.
what's the difference between looking at a report in your office and looking at a report in their office?
Well, Bob, here's the deal. I called so what I did, I asked during that rape investigation, I asked for subpoenas, and I was told you gotta you gotta write them first and ask them, and then if they don't comply, we'll get subpoenas. I wrote, and here's the arrogance of these agencies. It ain't just Harp. I mean, these agencies have gotten so arrogant that they think they don't answer to nobody. Harp thinks he don't answer to the court, to anybody, and so if he don't want to answer you, he just doesn't answer you. So he don't even respond. So I go back and say, I need these subpoenas. Didn't get them. So I set up our hearing to go, okay, if he don't bring this person over, I'm going to present all this evidence showing they should have brought the person over. And we did that. And we very well proved why we questioned that individual investigating. Now, I send out requests the other day, once again, asking for the SIRs, the serious incident reports. Now, Bob, they used to put those out, send them out to everybody. Now
Yep.
they're claiming now confidential, confidential. Then I'm asking for
Wait a minute. Why would they claim that if there's still violence is so low?
who knows, Bob? Again, ain't that interesting? So then they turn around. And I ask for, I want the logs to show for 4 prisons. I want the logs for 3 months to show how many employees actually signed in. Now you can go on the website and pull up who's an employee. They're saying, well, this information, man, inmates might find out how low staff we are. You think the inmates know how many
That's funny.
per day? What crackhead would say? What idiot would say that? I mean, how ignorant. And here's the problem, Bob, is that our people at the Capitol know so little about what we're talking about that they listen to them morons. You know, I'm like laughing, going, wow, did you really hear what they're saying? Like inmates can't count how many officers showed up today. They can count. In fact, I'd rather ask the inmates. I'd get a better count from the inmates than I could from DOC all day long. DLC fuzzy mad. You can't never expect nothing.
Well,
But
where you at on subpoenas now?
well, Bob, I requested. Now here's what's funny. You took a guy up the other day and talked. I had that guy come back down and fill out all the stuff that I thought necessary and help me in what I need to ask for, what I need this, what I need that. I send it over there. Guess what? No response, no response. I go back and say, hey, I want these subpoenas because I was told again, well, you got to ask for it first before you can get it. So I asked for it 3 weeks ago. And again, I didn't get a response. Now I suspect that a conversation has went on, and all of a sudden I get a response. All of a sudden I get a response that you can't have these, but you can come over to our office and you can view them. Now, how arrogant, you know what I'm saying? How arrogant are they?
They're
You
so
can't,
secret that you can't look at them, but you got to look. But they're only you can't look at them. But you have to look at their place. But when it gets to the Capitol, that means they're not secret.
yeah.
They can look at them at over there. What's the difference between the Capitol and that?
Some magical magical happens between the Capitol building and the DOC brand new headquarters. I guess there's
Well,
some
it sounds like they don't want you really looking at them very long.
oh,
They just want to
they
take you a
don't want me.
quick look.
They don't want me looking at them, and I'll tell you what they really don't. They don't want me to have time to study them.
That's
They
what
don't
that's
want
what I'm
me to
saying. That's
study.
clear when they're doing that.
No, and again, who are they? And here's Bob. I will tell you. Let me just tell you why I'm pretty fuzzed up about all this. Because we just put out subpoenas on Ryan Walters, and my understanding of those subpoenas are we're on a fishing trip looking for something on Walters. I'm not on a fishing trip. I know exactly what I'm asking for, and I've got lots of reasons, as I just showed earlier when we were talking about. I'm getting records to show they claimed 17, 21, 22, 24, 18. I'm going to show where they publicly. I played an interview the other day where the person who is their spokesperson went on a radio station. I played this in a hearing the other day, Bob, that they said, well, we have to manipulate the numbers to make sure that we get, that the
Don't get our budget cut.
fund us, we get funding. Now, code, so let me translate that. That's code for we lied to the legislators, okay? So we can get your money. Now, that's what that was all about. And Bob, if you get all of that to show, guess what? These numbers ain't no good. And you got the videos of rape, you got the videos of assault, you got them admitting things. Bob, the other day we came out and we claimed that at Holdenville, one of the inmates had to run down to office, call 911, until the police come out and save me at this prison, they're going to kill me. Now, DOC come out and denied, oh, that's a lie. Humphrey's lying again. Well, guess what? They got that little 911 call played to them. Now, guess what? They don't come out and go, oh, we're so sorry. Humphrey's telling
No, they
us.
said that what they said was that was probably somebody's family.
Yeah, hey, they're liars, and we caught them again, time after time lying.
But all of that's why we say there's so much corruption going on up there, especially now. I didn't know about all these other things that we're talking about here. That on these invoices for OCI, OCI is Oklahoma Corrections Industries, and it's operated by DOC, which Harp is over. Harp's over that. They have. They're asking for pay. They're asking. These agencies have invoices to pay them, but they don't have purchase orders for those invoices. Am I correct?
Yeah, Bob, and let me tell you something. I'm working on a deal on DAs. So I'm working on a really big deal on district attorneys, corruption. Well, while I'm looking at the district attorneys, a little deal pops up on how much furniture they purchased. And then I get called on multiple operations agencies and stuff. But in a conversation, something comes up about the furniture. And that's what got me looking at that section of furniture. Now that's caused me to go back and look at a lot of other purchases from that agency that I think are going to be way questionable on that agency. But here's the deal. When you say furniture, where do we get most of our furniture? It's from OCI. So when I start looking at multiple questionable practices on furniture, where's the first place I go? I go look at OCI. So here's my first look, and I find 16 purchases, invoices where no PO was done. And
now I heard there was a consultant that worked for OMES, or that worked for the OMES that went in business for herself as a consultant, and she was being paid on bills or that she had no purchase order on.
Well, now that's another deal, Bob. That was an OMES employee, from what I understand.
Right.
And I haven't heard this. I've only heard rumors of this. But you have this employee, OMES, leaves for multiple reasons. We could talk about them, but they ain't worth talking about. Leaves and starts her own consultant business, and now gets all of these uh, contracts without a contract, is what I'm being told. But somebody will have to look into that to verify that information. But I can tell you this: after I looked at this furniture, I went and looked at a couple of things from this other agency, and it appears that same thing is going on with that agency multiple times. I've already found three contracts that I have super question on, because it appears that they're doing contracts with some very expensive, such as lawyers and IT and all of that kind of thing. And it appears like they're doing contracts without a contract. And if that was one day, you might go, okay. But it appears like 9 months or longer that they're doing. So how does the state do business with very high dollar individuals, 50,000 or more? Wow. And so, but the main thing, Bob, that I saw on this that just alerted me was these 16 purchases or 16 invoices without any purchase order. And if you go back to Swadley's, they were moving purchase orders, they were changing them, it appeared. And so, again, we never want to say it's exactly like that, because I was on the investigating team, but I didn't personally get to do all the stuff I would want to do. And on this one, I am doing it. I have already pulled 16 invoices. I sent those invoice numbers to DOC. I sent those invoice numbers to OMMA and said, what the hell? What's going on? And again, if you had one rectification, okay, that's a very, very rare thing. But when you have 16, and the fact that it was done on both sides, because this side, OCI, should have said, no, we need a purchase order. This side should have had a purchase order. So how are these two doing business together 16 times on approximately $900,000 worth of furniture and not one PO. That's extremely problematic. I would say that's very. So I've asked them to produce an explanation as to why that is. And Bob, we're just getting into the weeds on this. So again, another example how Harp changing the way they do business, the way state does business. Again, why is that problematic? Why does it look totally inappropriate? Why does it look illegal? And again, why did you do away with all this? There's a reason we had these practices in place. There's a reason why we set all this. He walked in, nope, we're doing away with all of this stuff, whether it be the bidding practices. And again, we see what happens in Swadley's. Bob, I turned over a bunch of stuff in COVID of how they were purchasing medical equipment. And again, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pay for only the product you receive. So if I order $20 million worth of product from you, you send me 10, I only pay you for 10 million. I don't pay you 20 million and hope that you send me the rest. That's not the way we do business in the state. Guess what? That appears to be the way they were doing business. Many things. I turned all that stuff over. Pretty interesting where it's ended up, how it's ended up, and I anticipate all that will come out eventually. Bob, people don't even know how much stuff I've been digging on. I dig all the time. I dig on stuff all the time, and I can tell you that there's there's some way questionable. It ain't just with DOC, but I can tell you where it all originates out of and where a bunch of the problems come from. And it comes from changing the way we do business, doing away with the merit protection, doing away with bidding processes, stopping all these purchase orders.
Don't
And
forget grievances.
well, it's just corrupt, Bob. It may not be illegal, but it's corrupt as hell when it's your best friend over there making money, or good friends. And again, I should say it's your best friend. May not. I'd have to prove they know each other. But Bob, when you go to looking in this, every one of them have worked together. Every one of them. You look at this one, and this one is married to that one, and they're sleeping with that one, and this one's doing this, and it's like, wow. And again, Bob, I don't care who sleeps with who, none of my business. But I'm getting some pictures to verify that, because when you sleep with each other, and next day you're this director and you're this director, and money's going, then it becomes important. And so
Right.
I'm doing all of that.
Well, hey, Representative, I want to say thank again, congratulations on not getting an opponent, so you can do the work for the people now and put more efforts into it than what you have been. You don't have to worry about that, and just say it's a great deal for Oklahoma, and I appreciate you.
Hey, Bob, I appreciate that. And I just want to say, y'all keep watching Elephant in the Room. We're going to come out. We're going to try to start. We'll see if we're able to do this, but we're going to start trying to come out with the Capitol exposed, some little short videos. Hope every week we can start with one of those here on Elephant in the Room. Once we get them up and going, we'll start with those. They should be funny, calling out all the corruption, calling out the bills that should have been heard and the way they got killed. So, Bob, they'll be wanting to put a hit out on me for very long when we start coming out with all this stuff.
Well, appreciate it.